Right now, NBC 26 live at 10. Packer season comes to an end in Detroit. Sports breaks down the final game for the green and gold. Plus, a recap of some of 2017's biggest stories around Northeast Wisconsin. And see why people are watching this llama cross the bridge in Green Bay. NBC 26, your official Packer station. No postseason for the green and gold as they end the regular season tonight in Detroit. More on that, we go to Chris Barrier. Chris.
Hey, Mo, a happy new year to you. And a new year couldn't come at a better time. The Packers ended their 2017 season today with a loss to Detroit where almost nothing went their way. Quarterback Brett Hundley threw 2 interceptions and lost a fumble. The only time the Packers found the end zone was in the fourth quarter, a 17-yard pass from Hundley to Randall Cobb. Meanwhile, Matthew Stafford had himself a ball game. 323 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. The Lions end their season 9-7, while the Packers fall to 7-9. Their worst record since Mike McCarthy's first year in Green Bay way back in 2006. Now, believe it or not, there are things to be excited about, and we will look forward to the future of the green and gold coming up in just a few minutes during Sunday Sports Rewind, so stick around for that. But right now, Mo, I got to find out about this llama. So let's send things back to you.
So do I, Chris. All right, well, back here in Green Bay, it's kind of is like the ice bowl temperatures. Here's Gino Recchio with the first look at your forecast. Gino.
It's been a cold day, and guess what? The 7th coldest New Year's Eve on record for Green Bay, and data goes back to 1886. So if that doesn't tell you how unusually cold it is, well, now it does. And now we're even talking about some wind chills, a wind chill advisory in effect until noon tomorrow. We're talking values that could be as cold as -20 to as cold as -30 degrees. Overnight, we're expected to see temperatures drop down to -12 and then only warm up to a high of 3. I'll have that full forecast coming up.
All right, thank you so much, Gino. And fire officials in Appleton say a propane cooking appliance caused an attached garage fire earlier tonight. The Appleton Fire Department says it happened just before 6 tonight at 1501 West Grant Street. Crews were able to put out the fire and hold most of the damage to the garage. Officials also say 7 people who were inside were able to get out safely. Police in Sheboygan investigating a shooting early this morning. It happened in the 1500 block of Martin Avenue. It's not known if anyone was injured. We're going to hear back from investigators shortly. We'll back with more details. A Fond du Lac County family has lost everything in a fire. Their home on Highway V and Woodland Drive in Campbellsport caught fire this morning. The house is a complete loss, but no one was hurt. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. A plane carrying 10 Americans and 2 local crew members crashed today in Costa Rica, killing all who were on board. The plane went down in a wooded area near Costa Rica's Pacific coast. The statement from the country's president confirmed that the passengers were U.S. citizens. The president's statement also said emergency survivors are working on recovering the bodies and that investigation into the cause of the crash will start tomorrow morning. A Colorado sheriff's deputy was killed and 4 other deputies and 2 people were wounded during a shootout in suburban Denver this morning. It all started when the sheriff's department got an emergency call after 5 this morning about a domestic violence incident at the Copper Canyon Apartments in Highlands Ranch. When deputies got to the apartment, shots were fired. Authorities also say the suspect was shot and believed to be dead and is no longer a threat at the moment. Well, as the year comes to a close, we here at NBC 26 took some of the stories that had a major impact in Northeast Wisconsin in 2017. Regina Ahn takes you to round 2 of our year-round breakdown.
A tragic start to summer in Cambria. Didion Milling's corn processing plant explodes, killing 5 workers and injuring 12 more. Federal labor officials determine accumulation of highly combustible grain dust probably caused the blast and slapped the company with 19 safety citations.
I'll be honest, when you pull up to a scene like that, that's something you never expect to see. And I hope to God that I never have to see it again in my life, and I hope no one else does.
NBC 26 launches 2 new series, Great Outdoors and Small Towns, because at NBC 26, we're dedicated to bringing you the positive, uplifting stories of your friends and neighbors. Severe weather strikes northeast Wisconsin the afternoon of June 14th. Devastation and damage to homes and businesses near Pulaski, Shawano, Appleton, and Kimberly. Despite 10 confirmed tornadoes, neighbors escape any serious injuries.
I grabbed my dog and it took me 30 seconds to get down in the basement, and I thought the whole roof was going to come in.
Republican lawmakers approved spending up to $3 billion to lure Foxconn Technology Group to southeastern Wisconsin, where it will build a $10 billion electronics assembly plant that could employ 13,000. The legislation is the biggest incentive package ever from any state to a foreign company.
We want more people to move up here and work up here, not just for Foxconn, but for all the other great businesses that are going to be a part of this larger ecosystem.
A horrifying scene when a car plowed into a crowd of people. One person killed and dozens others injured. It happened 2 hours after a planned protest billed as Unite the Right. Hundreds of white nationalists carried Confederate flags and Nazi symbols, clashing with counter-protesters.
Look, we're being gassed now. The Charlottesville Police Department is allowing people to come in here, gas us. They won't allow us into the event even though we had a permit.
A hurricane season unlike any other cost billions in damages, devastating southeast Texas, Florida, and the Caribbean. Hurricane Harvey drenched Texas in late August, dumping 1 million gallons of water per person in the region. NBC 26 partnered with Shopko to host a hurricane relief drive, collecting about $40,000 worth of items to truck to the Salvation Army in Houston.
And still ahead on NBC 26, live at 10. So what's your New Year's resolution? Hear what different people around Northeast Wisconsin had to say about that. But what's the weather going to look like for the rest of the weekend? Your forecast up next.
And now, your Storm Shield forecast from NBC 26.
Well, it was mostly sunny skies today, but it has been this bitter cold pattern that's just not going away, and it won't be going away anytime soon, at least for the next few days. We do have some changes, but it will have to wait likely another week or so before we have some type of warm-up. -7 degrees. And happy New Year's Eve. There's a -27 wind chill for you. Probably not something that we were hoping for, being outside, enjoying the festivities to kick off the new year. Across the rest of northeast Wisconsin, a -11 in Watoma, -7 in Wapaka, -4 in Kewaunee, and -13 in Antigo right now. You factor in those winds coming in out of the west and northwest at about 5 to 15 miles per hour. And yes, it is feeling much more cold outside. -28 is what it feels like right now in Manitowoc, and -26 down in Sheboygan. And that is why we do have a wind chill advisory until noon tomorrow because of these dangerous conditions. We could see frostbite develop as soon as a half hour. So make sure you dress appropriately and you get home safely tonight. Temperatures, wind chills will be continuously holding steadily between -20 to -30 overnight tonight. But then by the morning tomorrow and into the afternoon, we'll see some better conditions. Winds will start to calm down and will warm up just a tad, but it will be one of the coldest New Year's days ever recorded, likely to be the third coldest in Green Bay history. High pressure, that's the reason why we're seeing all this cold air, surging northerly winds from the north and from Canada, and that will continue to be the trend for the next few days. But this high pressure will start to shift down southward, and then a low pressure will move through here on Wednesday. This will bring in a light dusting of snowfall. We're not anticipating a whole lot of accumulation. And then behind it, yes, another Arctic high pressure to bring in another surge of cold air. This is what one of the computer models projecting, just a very light coating of snowfall. Nothing to go crazy about if you want to do shoveling or even perhaps hope for a snow day for the upcoming week. Tonight, we're dropping temperatures down well below zero, -12 for overnight low in Green Bay, -17 in Antigo, and -14 down in Watoma. For tomorrow, rising only into the single digits above zero, light winds out of the west at 5 to 10 miles per hour, 9 in Menominee, down in Sheboygan, 3 degrees, and then in Shawano, 7 degrees for your high. We'll start to warm up into the lower teens as we get into the middle of the work week, 15 in Wednesday, then dropping back down because of that Arctic high pressure moving here on Thursday. Mostly sunny skies, continuously holding on into those temperatures in the single digits as we go into the work week and into the weekend. But teens back on Sunday, Mo, so that's something to look forward to.
But that's the high. That's the thing.
That is the high, but it'll feel much better now compared to what we're seeing for the next few days.
Starting the year on a cold note, of course.
Yeah, we'll eventually end at a warm note.
Hopefully soon.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, Chino. And it's a question you're probably asking everyone. What's their New Year's resolution going to be? Hear what people around Northeast Wisconsin are saying after the break. Well, Welcome back. So everyone has a different way to ring in the new year, and some people are getting a little creative with it this time. Earlier tonight, people gathered at Main Street Bridge in Green Bay to check out the Lucky Llama. He's going to cross the bridge. Legend has it, though, anyone who sees it will have a good lucky year, starting 2018, of course. And we're just a couple of hours away from 2018. Tonight, people all over Northeast Wisconsin are celebrating their new year and, of course, looking to make some changes along the way. NBC 26's Shane Gustafson shows us some New Year's resolutions.
The start of the new year is almost like a blank slate. Plenty of time to kick that bad habit, eat better, or maybe even pick up on that resolution you forgot about last year. And here in Northeast Wisconsin, plenty of folks are doing just that. The stroke of midnight will sound something like this in Green Bay. 3, 2, 1. But once the ball drops and the midnight kiss is behind you, the real work of the new year begins.
A New Year's resolution? Just to do good things, I guess.
She was born 2 years ago, so she's 18 months, so new year, new things.
Families came out to celebrate 2018 a little early Sunday.
I think we're going to just try to spend more time as a family and do more family things and kind of really enjoy kind of the age here because it's a pretty special age.
Josh Day and his family hope 2018 brings them closer together. And others are focused on the sweeter side of life.
Making gingerbread cookies. Top priority for 2018.
That answer came from her daughter, but all cookies aside, most hope 2018 is filled with good luck and a little brighter than 2017.
We're looking forward to finding out where we're going to go for residency, so lots of things to look forward to in 2018.
And of course, no matter how you welcome in the new year, we hope you do it safely. Until next year, keeping you connected, I'm Shane Gustafson, NBC 26.
And those are all very good resolutions to have. And from all of us here at NBC 26, we want to wish you a very happy new year. Thank you for spending your Sunday night with us, but we're not done just yet. Chris Barrier, we're back with sports. Stay with us.
Good evening and welcome to Sunday Sports Rewind. I'm your host, Chris Barrier. The Packers finished their season with a losing record for the first time since 2008. That's not very good. And before we look ahead to next year, let's roll the highlights one more time on 2017. Why not, right? Packers and Lions. Jim Caldwell reportedly out as Detroit's head coach after today. Mike McCarthy's defensive coordinator, Dom Capers, with the same fate. Not a great start for Brett Hundley, folks. He throws a pick on his opening drive, then fumbles 2 drives later. Meanwhile, Matthew Stafford having no problem finding the baby blue painted turf. A 54-yard strike over the middle to Kenny Golladay. 10-3 Lions on top. It was 27-3 Lions entering the fourth quarter. Finally, Hundley gets something to click. Nice look to Randall Cobb for 17 yards and a touchdown, his third tutty of the year. He also converted on the 2-point conversion. Then, speaking of 2-point attempts, look at Mr. Sneaky Matthew Stafford. Blind snap to Amir Abdullah, hands it to Golden Tate and throws it back to Stafford. Then Stafford launched that puppy to the end zone. That thing went pretty high, too. Last game of the year, you might as well break out the playbook, right? Lions win at 35-11. Brett Hundley, not so good. A fumble and 2 interceptions. That gives him 10 picks on the season, 2 more than he threw for touchdowns. Only 8 touchdowns, and of course, none of those were at home. For more on this game and what the future holds, here's Charlie Sakaitis and Kelly Price.
A little season-ending cheese and Packers here. Charlie Sakaitis, Kelly Price. We have a knife spread, unfortunately. Unlike Chris Barrier, I don't have any cheese-related jokes to open up with. So, Kelly, let's get right into the Packer part.
No cheesy puns today, but nothing mattered today for either the Lions or the Packers. Neither team is going to make the playoffs, but the Lions ran away with this one. Matthew Stafford and company just totally torched the Packers defense. Matthew Stafford went 20 for 29 with 323 yards, 3 touchdowns. Does this say more about the Lions offense or the Packers lackluster defense?
I think it's a little column A, a little column B. The Lions had their starting quarterback. That makes a big difference. The Packers did not. So while I think it could have been a better performance by the defense than we saw, I don't think you can put everything just on them. I think it was a total team effort to not get it done today.
And speaking of team effort or lack thereof, Dom Capers reportedly out as the defensive coordinator for the Packers. What options do you see for replacing him going forward for the Packers?
Well, there's a number of different options that have been talked about a lot. Vic Fangio of the Bears, likely the guy that's being at the top of the list. He's a guy that has actually worked for Capers at 2 different spots, but it was his stint with the 49ers where he had top 5 defenses that really has sort of gotten that ball rolling, in my opinion. Then there's going to be some head coaches now looking for jobs. Maybe one of those guys steps in. You got a Chuck Pagano. Maybe he could come be a defensive coordinator. Vance Joseph of the Broncos. Marvin Lewis, another guy that could potentially be looking for a job if he wants to keep it going.
One more thing I wanted to discuss before we're through, a weird moment on the Fox broadcast as the analysts.
What was this?
Yeah, analysts were talking about Mike McCarthy. Take a look at this.
That's what happens to you. There you go, McCarthy right there. There's a little bit of extra Christmas dinner right there, but that's how we operate in cold weather climates.
Not okay. That's just fat shaming. You can't do that. This is 2017. Haven't we learned anything about how to treat people?
Yeah.
Not all right to do that.
No, that was not a good look for that broadcast. I do not understand where that was going, why they needed to do that.
Unnecessary.
That was totally inappropriate. So we can end on a positive note here.
This is pretty cool,
Yeah,
actually.
the jack of kind of all offensive line trades, Justin McCray. This time last year, you can see this tweet now, he was a bellman for a hotel in Florida. Now he's living out his NFL dream as starting for the Packers. That's a pretty cool moment for him. You've got to keep things in perspective now as we kind of move into 2018.
Absolutely. I mean, this wasn't the year for the Packers. It's not the one that they wanted to have. And for maybe you at home, maybe this wasn't the year you wanted to have. But you know what? A lot can change in a single year. Your life situation can get a lot better. So be positive going into 2018. I'm going to be. I hope you are, Kelly, and we hope you guys are at home as well. Keeping you connected. I'm Charlie Sakaitis with Kelly Price. This is Cheese and Packers.
Charlie, it's not cheesy unless you make the cheese jokes. Come on. Thank you, guys. When we come back, we'll look at the Badgers' Orange Bowl victory last night and hear what the guys have to say about that. You're watching Sunday Sports Rewind. Welcome back to the show. Last night, the Wisconsin Badgers ended their season on a high note with a historic win down in Miami. 34-24 over the Miami Hurricanes in the Orange Bowl. Jonathan Taylor broke Adrian Peterson's record for most rushing yards as a freshman in FBS history. Of course, former Badger Ron Dayne might have something to say about that. He would hold the true record, but back then, the NCAA didn't recognize bowl stats. What gives? Wisconsin also earned its 13th win of the year, the most in school history, and it's the first time since the 1950s that Bucky has won 4 bowl games in consecutive seasons. Now, the trophy will collect dust over the years, but the bond among Badger brothers will stay fresh forever.
It's been a journey that I'll never forget, and the relationships with my brothers here is something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life, and I know some of them are going to be friends with, or I'm going to be friends with forever. Speaking of one, there's one right there, Jack Sitchy.
I mean, I'm going to take away the friendships, like Duel said. He's going to be one of my best friends, probably going to be my wedding. Just stuff like that, and just every time that one of us on this team comes back to Madison, these memories will come back, and it's going to be really special.
Great season for Bucky. Back to the NFL now. Vikings and Bears in Minneapolis. Guys in purple looking to clinch a first-round bye. But it's Chicago making the highlight reel early. Bryce Callahan, born and raised in Moscow, Idaho, that is, goes 59 yards on the punt return for the touchdown. 14-7 Vikes still on top. Third quarter, Case Keenum over the middle. Stephon Diggs. Yes, sir. The Vikings get the touchdown and the win. They lock up a first-round bye with their 13th victory of the season. So let's take a look at the playoff picture. Minnesota is the number 2 seed in the NFC. The Eagles clinched home field throughout as the number 1 seed. The Falcons sneak into the 6th seed with a win over the Panthers. That means 3 teams from the NFC South are in. To the AFC, the Pats take the top seed, but the Steelers are just behind them. Pittsburgh almost got beat by Cleveland today. Alas, the Browns managed to finish 0-16, joining the 08 Lions as the only 2 teams to ever put up that record. Now, before I go, I want to take one last look at the Packers roller coaster season that left many fans, maybe yourself out there, sick to your stomach at the end of the ride. Yes, Aaron Rodgers was hurt, but that's not the only thing that dictated this year. So without further ado, I present to you the top 10 defining moments of the 2017 season. Let's begin where most lists begin. At number 10, Ted Thompson trades out of the first round of the NFL draft. That made a lot of fans upset, rightfully so, because this is a team that prides itself on draft and develop. It was only the 4th year in draft history that the Green and Gold skipped on the first round, and as a result, they missed out on this guy, Wisconsin Badger native TJ Watt, who probably could have helped in the pass rush department. To number 9, the arrival of Martellus Bennett. Let's be honest, when Marty B first got here, everybody loved the guy. Wearing a cheese hat during his interview, sleeping on the locker room floor when he showed up early for training camp, just good old-fashioned fun. And something a little bit different in the locker room, but that did not last long because number 8, the departure of Marty B. My, how quickly things changed. Aaron Rodgers goes down. Bennett comes out on Instagram and says he might retire. Then he says he has a shoulder injury and doesn't trust team Dr. Pat McKenzie. Next thing you know, he's cut, picked up by his old team, the New England Patriots, and the Packers are left scratching their heads wondering where did Marty go. Number 7, injuries galore, real injuries, that is. Every team goes through their fair share of adversity, but Green Bay finished the season with 14 guys on injured reserve. Hurt most notably on the offensive line, which led to Aaron Rodgers taking 22 sacks this year, 6 of them in Week 3 against Cincinnati. And speaking of injuries, number 6, Davante Adams suffering multiple concussions, both from blindside hits. After the second time it happened against Carolina, Davante took to Twitter to express his displeasure, and now some fans are worried about the health next year, landing a nice, big, juicy contract. Number 5, this one isn't so much about the Packers, but it's still pretty strange, and thus makes the list. The Lambeau police scare. An enraged former employee crashing his car at Lambeau Field to seek vengeance on a former coworker, causing a chaotic scene at the most historic football venue in the country? Yeah, you better believe that's making the list. Number 4, Aaron Rodgers goes down with a collarbone break. Oh yeah, did you know that happened? Did you ever hear about that? Instantly, Anthony Barr becomes public enemy number 1 here in Green Bay. Rodgers didn't like the hit. Here he is barking at Barr the whole way off the field. But fans still held out hope that number 12 might return just as he did after breaking his collarbone in 2013. To number 3, and this one has got to be my favorite, Mike McCarthy showing some rare emotion at his daily press conference when asked if he would consider Colin Kaepernick in Rodgers' absence. Do you remember what he said to that?
Did you just listen to that question I just answered? Okay, I got 3 years invested in Brett Hundley, 2 years invested in Joe Callahan. The quarterback room is exactly where it needs to be, okay?
Oh boy. Yeah, that got real quiet real quick. Number 2, Rodgers returns, although briefly. In 2013, A-Rod came back from a broken collarbone and ran the table, leading his team into the playoffs, but not this time, not so much. 3 interceptions against the Panthers. This is some other highlights we're looking at here, but it's only the 4th time he's thrown 3 picks, and then right back on the IR, which caused a stir from many teams who claim the Packers should have to release Aaron at the end of the season for violating NFL injured reserve policy. Yeah, it's not going to happen. And finally, number 1, the Green Bay Packers get shut out at Lambeau Field twice in the same season. First time that that's happened since Coach McCarthy took over in 2006. Probably something everybody involved will want to forget. To be fair, there are plenty of positives looking forward. Your 2 biggest free agents, Davante Adams and Corey Linsley, are already signed and locked up. Blake Martinez, Kenny Clark both had huge steps this year in their 2nd season. So to you, I say, Happy New Year, and here's to a better 2018.